Hello there, it's Josh here from racingtoprofit.co.uk. The aim of this video is to answer three questions. Firstly, what is profiling? To discuss profiling in more depth, including relevant examples and a quick look at how I use Horse Race Base to find them. Number two, what will profiling do for you? A quick look at the results and potential of this approach, including two qualifiers running this evening. And finally, what have I got for you? To let you know how you can join me on what promises to be an exciting and profitable journey over the next few months. I've sent you a free report so you can get a feel for my approach to profiling. I plan to talk a bit more about this and explain how you can get involved. Some of you will be excited by what I have to offer, some of you won't. All I ask is you hear what I have to say and then make up your own mind. Whatever you decide, thank you for watching this video and for your continued support of my blog. Right, let's get to it. What is profiling? For me, profiling is a technique I use to identify when handicappers, generally more exposed, are likely to run well, based on their historical performance. Flat handicappers are perfect because they generally run many times throughout their career, which gives you confidence that a pattern created over a few seasons will be repeated. My aim is to find those repeat offenders that have a clear profile for when they perform best. Not all horses have a clear pattern, but there are many that do and can be very profitable to follow. This pattern can be a result of a horse's breeding, how they are trained, or a mixture of both. Importantly, these patterns can be almost impossible to identify with normal form analysis, looking at a horse's record in the Racing Post for example, which means they can slip under the radar. Just as importantly, my approach is rather simple. I wanted to find and track horses whose ideal winning conditions were clear and easy to follow. What am I looking for? Let's take Lord Buffhead, who I introduced in the free report. He really sparked my interest in profiling. I won't repeat what I wrote in that guide, but as you will see, he has a clear pattern, and once I spotted it, he went on to win again at 16 to 1 and 20 to 1. I'm now going to head over to my Horse Race Base account so you can see how I go about finding the horses and how potential patterns emerge. Here I will look at Lord Buffhead, Hopes and Dreams, and a new addition I discovered yesterday, Relight My Fire. I will just head over to Horse Race Base now. There we go, so that's the screen. So this is Lord Buffhead. When you click on any horse, for those who are unfamiliar with Horse Race Base, you're faced with the screen such as this, the horse's name in the top left hand corner and other details, a box here where you can make notes and add and follow and unfollow, and then all of their form with their most recent runs at the top, which you can filter, which is obviously quite useful. But of course I'm interested in profiling, so the profiler button is the one I always click first. Just as importantly, I always filter by, well, on this occasion we're flat handicaps. This just excludes any non-handicap performances. As I said in the free report, non-handicap performances can be misleading for numerous reasons, usually because a horse can outclass rivals, say in a maiden, or they can have favourable conditions in a claimer, for example, so it's harder to tell if it's an actual pattern or not. So I'm always interested in just form in flat handicaps in this particular example. So Lord Buffhead, for those again who haven't used Horse Race Base before, you can see his performance in flat handicaps across all of these different criteria. The one I'm interested in for him, as I hope becomes obvious, is the day since run, this box in the middle. Some horses, and he is one prime example, have a clear rest pattern. You can see his performance there when returning 16 to 30 days is 5 from 9 and 6 have been placed. His record outside of those conditions is pretty poor. He returned within 7 days at Hamilton actually and went off favourite, I think. You can see there his performance when returning in 7 days, within 7 days is 0 from 21 and only placed once. So as a horse, he either likes a rest and likes to have a breather between his races, or a mixture of both. He is trained to peak during this certain time and is targeted at certain races. You can see if there are any course and distance preferences, see his age, headgear preferences to the right, tongue tie, race quality, official ratings there. If he has a particular gets on well with a particular jockey, and obviously important conditions such as going. You can see there he's not too great on good to firm, and actually I believe his first run of the season in his conditions when he was returning 16 to 30 days was on good to firm. I did back him, but he was ridden as if to suggest his handicap mark needed to be reduced. So that's that really. Hopefully I won't stay on him too much longer, but just to say, when I first spotted him, his record was 3 wins from 6 runs, and 4 had been placed, and an equally poor record during the other days. With that information, I simply went to his form here, clicked on flat only so I could get his flat runs, and then with a notepad and pen I started at the beginning, ignoring the maidens, and simply went through noting down his performance in handicaps when returning between 16 and 30 days, checking that this performance was over a number of years, at least 2 seasons, and as I said in the free report, it got to a point where I was tracking him around May, I think, end of May, early June. Then he went on to win twice, as you can see there at Ayr twice actually, at decent odds, and he was well backed both times, fairly well backed both times. So that's Lord Buffhead. I make notes on him, note his conditions down. It's important to note out that he is 1 from 37 and only 9 places in handicaps outside of that rest pattern. On to Hopes and Dreams. You can see there in the note box here in the middle of the screen, Hamilton, 1 to 15 runners is in brackets because she actually hasn't ran with more than 15 runners in her ideal conditions, so the field size may not be too important, but it's a consideration, as you'll see in a moment. So Hamilton, Class 2, less than 20,000 to the winner. That's her overall record. She's running a few non-handicaps. The form line I noted down originally was the handicaps only. So first, 7th, first, and that first there in brackets was her run a couple of days ago when winning at 9 to 1. I believe she was available at 11 to 1 the night before, but I missed that price. And she is another, her form in outside of those runs at handicaps is 2 from 26 and 5 places. So she runs well at other courses, but it's much hard to predict when she's going to turn up and perform, and that gets to the whole point really of profiling. You can see what I was faced here when I started tracking her. Obviously there wasn't a 5, that was a 4 there, and 4 from 6 I think. That track performance obviously stands out fairly well, as do any horses which have a clear course pattern, or course and distance preference. Again, distance, race quality. You can see there in terms of number of runners why I put 1 to 15 runners to start with. She's ran in 16 plus races 7 times and never placed. But as I've said, she's never ran at Hamilton in her conditions with that many runners. She is a front runner, so it is possible too big a field size isn't ideal, but the jury is out on that one in terms of at Hamilton. When returning within 7 days, you can see she's a perfect 4 from 4. There we go, more information down there. Course and distance, yes, 5 from 7 at Hamilton over 6 furlongs. So that's Hopes and Dreams. And finally, Relight My Fire, which I discovered when looking, as I always do, looking to see if there are new horses with profiles developing that I can track. The starting point was clicking on his profile, and hopefully it's quite clear. Well, I was interested in a few things. So the fact that all 4 of his handicap wins have been on good to firm from 16 runs. Only 2 runs on good to Sophie's place, so that's it's not conclusive. But 8 runs on good. It suggests he has a preference for good to firm, and clearly he runs his best races on such going. distance here, 6 furlongs, clearly a bit too sharp for him. The jury would be out whether or not he gets 1 mile or 1.5 miles, and in time, as he matures, he may well do that, but he's only had 2 runs. So I wouldn't necessarily be put off if the race was over 7.5 furlongs just yet. Class, official rating, the other 2 factors were a number of runners. That looks fairly clear to me. 12 or more runners. He's raced 11 times and has failed to place in a handicap. And days since run, again it's only 10 runs after 15 days, but only 2 places. So far in his career to date, he's performed best when returning within a couple of weeks. The month, as it so happens, all 4 of his wins have been in July, so he clearly does come alive during that month, but that may also be because of his liking for good to firm ground. In his actual profile, he has placed one of those places in the profile for him is outside of July, but clearly if he turns up in his conditions in the month of July, he'll be even more interesting. So the pointers that I was interested in were his form on good to firm, returning within 1 to 15 days, and 1 to 11 runners. At the moment, over 7.5 furlongs, and his form line there, 2, 1, 1, 1, and those 3 were back-to-back in 2013, so I wouldn't have followed him necessarily straight away after that, because it's only 1 season, and when there's a clump of results you have to be a bit wary. But then last season he ran 6th, and then he won again at odds of 7 to 1. So he's 4 from 7 in those conditions, 5 from 7 in the top 3, and just as importantly, having gone through every other race and result, his form outside of those conditions is 0 in handicaps, flat handicaps, is 0 from 23 places. For me, that gives me confidence, and anyone following this horse moving forward, that he will run well. So whether or not you want to join me for Flat Profiles 2015, when I go on to that later, you can obviously note down this profile for free and start tracking him straight away. Good to firm ground, 1 to 15 days, 1 to 11 runners. He normally runs well. As I've said many times before, there's a 7 and a 6 there. He will run a clunker every now and then, and he will perform poorly, but I expect that he will repeat this pattern in the coming days. And his first run of 2015 was after a break of 228 days. He travelled well. I think I remember watching that race for quite a way, but then faded quite late on. So that is Horse Race Base. I then simply follow those horses, add them into Horse Race Base where I can track them, and then they come up every day in the qualifiers when the website is updated the evening before racing, so that I can see the next day's qualifiers and work out which horses have their profiles and are likely to run well. I should add, when I go on to show an example of the kind of, when I'm discussing a profile horse and their conditions, as I have on the blog, this is what I look at. I'm looking at if the horse not only has his conditions, but if other factors such as the going, such as the distance, maybe the jockey, the handicap rating in particular for exposed handicappers, and other factors to make sure that they are likely to run a good race. So that is Horse Race Base for you and how I go about profiling. Now back to this document. So hopefully you can see the power of profiling and its potential. It is underused, and many of the factors which are important to a horse's performance are rarely discussed. We are backing horses for reasons that other punters are not aware of. We are betting with a certain level of confidence that we will get a decent run for our money. New profiles are forming all the time, which means we can keep ahead of the game. It makes flat racing and your ordinary flat handicap much more enjoyable, entertaining, and with any luck more profitable. So, what will profiling do for you? I would like to think the majority of us bet for 2 reasons. Firstly, to have some fun and to be entertained, both researching, finding bets and watching the race, and secondly to try and make some money. Profiling is a unique and different way of analysing how a horse is likely to run, and as you will see below, also has the potential to make decent profits. It is a fun way to identify potential winners, and we know we have information on a horse that most ordinary punters do not. That is exciting. Let's have a look at some results. Firstly, let's look at the results from my team of horses from last season. In total, the 145 horses ran 319 times. They won an astonishing 175 races between them in their profile conditions, a 55% strike rate. 76% were in the top 3. Now, let's not kid ourselves. Those figures will not be repeated. That would be absurd. Remember, these horses were confirming their profile, and it would be misleading to expect them to repeat exactly what they did last season. They might, I won't rule that out, but I don't want to build our expectations too high. Of course, if they do maintain a 55% strike rate throughout the rest of the season, we will be doing very well indeed. However, I'm also not going to make misleading claims about profit either. Instead, I want to show you what I have made so far this flat season betting with my own money. Some, but not all of these, have been discussed on the blog. I know many of you are on Clubland, for example, and Border Bandit each way at 20 to 1. So this season, I've been following this elite team since the season started, betting my usual £20 per point. The headline stats are 5 winners from 25 bets and plus 20.5 points profit. If you just focused on those that were 14 to 1 ISP or under, industry starting price that is, or under, the stats are 16 bets, 5 wins, 9 in the top 3 for plus 28.5 points profit. My list of bets so far is as follows, and I'm not going to highlight them all, but you've got Win for Power there winning, Bright Applause second, Clubland winning at 4 to 1, a few clunkers at bigger prices admittedly, but they had their conditions and I wanted to give them a chance. King of Eden has been disappointing a couple of times. Me and my Shadow went very close at 10 to 1. I backed her to win, just got collared in the shadow of the post, which was rather annoying, but a good race nonetheless. True Pleasure has won a couple of times. I'm going to mention him in a bit later because, well, I'll mention him now, True Pleasure. He's won twice in his conditions. He ran then to bring up the hat trick, and I think he was around 2 to 1, and I didn't back him because he'd won twice, made me 14.25 points profit, and in essence, you know, you may well win again, which I'll go on into in a second, but I was happy to leave that run. However, he does have his conditions today in the same race as another horse which I've highlighted below, in the 7:30 at Catterick. It could be that his handicap mark's too high now, but that's not been proved, and the reason he wasn't a qualifier originally is because there were over 11 runners, and his record in races with more than 11 runners is quite poor. However, there have been 3 non-runners, so True Pleasure technically on his profile qualifies, and he is 7 to 1, which was a bit better than the 2 to 1 when he ran last time. So I have had half a point on at 7 to 1 as well. Anyway, moving on. Ingleby Angel there, a few more unplaced horses. Then we've got Hopes and Dreams there winning at 9 to 1. Absolutely hacked up, which was good. Baron Run in the same race, who also has a good Hamilton profile, but it wasn't to be this time. Economic Crisis ran a cracker, looked like the winner for quite a way before fading in the final furlong, but still clung on for third. But I backed him to win, 9 to 1. Border Bandit, very close. Another stride and he would have won. I know many of you backed him each way as I put him up on the blog yesterday. A great bet, backed into 12 to 1. Very nearly it was plus 14 points profit, but still a point and a half, which shouldn't be moaned at too much. A Meetings Man who needed the run, the market suggested needed the run, but did have his perfect profile and was 20 to 1, so I put half a point on. Hopefully you can see why I'm so excited about this approach and its potential. It is rather satisfying backing a horse that not many others have spotted that you are confident should run a good race. So yeah, let's take Border Bandit that I put up on the blog yesterday. Here is the write-up. 245 Beverley, Border Bandit, ideal conditions, 8 furlong or 8.5 furlongs, no worse than good to soft, with an official rating of 80 or below. Forming conditions, which you can see there, and the bold 2 there is his most recent run. I put the positives. He's fallen back to a mark of 80 and is a perfect fit for the profile above. He's also 2 from 2 over course and distance. The negatives: in 2 runs this season he has shown very little and looks completely out of form. My verdict was he has his ideal conditions, is a decent price, and I'll be backing him half a point each way with 3 places to aim at. As I put there, he does look out of form, but that's why he's 20 to 1. As with hopes and dreams, these horses don't have to be in form when returning to ideal conditions. The market suggests, unless he gets well backed, which he actually was, today may not be his day, but I'm happy to find out those odds, especially with 3 places. So yes, the result, he came second, having been 20 to 1, backed into 12 to 1 coming off. Very unlucky not to win, and he did run a very good race as his profile suggested. At this point, of course, it's not all winners and 20 to 1 shots losing by a head every time we place a bet. I've said it before and I'll say it again, it's not a golden bullet. I'm not going to promise that you'll make thousands of pounds with horse profiling. However, it is a fun approach to betting on horses that will make us profitable if history repeats itself. These horses usually run well when getting their conditions, but every now and then they leave you scratching your head. They are not robots, and they do run bad races when you least expect it. Indeed, occasionally they win outside of their ideal conditions, unbacked. And of course, we are relying on historical patterns, which are never a guarantee of future success. However, I have found profiling to be a superb way of backing horses that go under the radar. When I have backed a profile horse, I'm more excited than with any other type of horse I bet on. This is because I'm confident they are likely to run their race and I've spotted something others have not. Backing 20 to 1 shots like Border Bandit that get sent off at 12 to 1 and then run like 3 to 1 shots is a great thrill. So, how can you get involved? On Thursday at 12 p.m, the doors will open to my new horse profiling service called Flat Profiles 2015. I try to think of a catchy name, but I think that says what it is, and was the best title I could think of. I'm very excited about this because there isn't anything like it on the market at the moment, not that I have seen anyway. This is a new and unique way of profiting from horse racing. Now there will be 2 options. Firstly, a document you can download, save and print that includes all 147 flat profiles. As I said, I've found a couple in the last few days which I think are worthy inclusion in the full pack. So there were 145, it's now 147. For a one-off fee, you'll be able to gain access to all of these profiles. An example, if you did not download the free report, can be found below the video, so you can grab that report again and have a look at those 10 profiles and how they're presented. You'll be able to keep this document and use the profiles as you please. You can then add them to your own trackers and keep using them for as long as you wish. It may take some time to enter them into your trackers, but it'll be worth it. Of course, I will be available for any questions you have throughout the season, but in essence, with option 1, you won't really hear from me again unless you get in touch with me. Number 2, option 2, is the document, which all 147 flat profiles as above, plus the daily email service. The daily email service will run through to the November handicap on the 7th of November 2015, which marks the official end of the flat season. I will send a daily email outlining only those horses running in their conditions. This email will be sent by 8 a.m. at the latest every morning, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday at the latest. However, I will endeavour to send out all emails the evening before racing. There are 2 flat profile horses running today, and I've used these to demonstrate the type of email you will receive. These emails will focus on those horses that qualify based on their ideal conditions, with an assessment of positives, negatives and my verdict. I will not be including a form assessment of other runners in the race, but of course you are free to do this. You'll also benefit from any updates and new profiles that get added throughout the season. I'm always looking at horses in horse race space to find new profiles. Sometimes, as happened with a couple of horses I discovered yesterday, profiles emerge that are worth following straight away without any further evidence or tracking required. These profiles will be added automatically to the team, so we can start following them straight away. This may not happen too often, but when it does, you will be the first to know. As I have said previously, sometimes horses win outside of their conditions, and when this happens you will be informed in the next day's email with reasons for why they were not selections. The point with these profiles is that the horses are very unpredictable when not running in their ideal conditions and are unprofitable to follow. Once a month I will email you the results since live. These will be recorded to both 1-point level stakes win bets for all those that have their ideal conditions, and also results for staking highlighted in my verdict, as can be found in the example below. So, excuse me, the example email. Below is an example email which looks at 2 live qualifiers for today. So you can note these down and go and back them if you wish. So we have the 5th, as you can see there, qualifiers, 7:30 Catterick, Conroy. It's also the race that True Pleasure is racing in. Now, since I wrote this document, there have been 3 non-runners, and Conroy's price has been a 20p rule 4. He's been well backed into 13 to 8 now, I think, and he may even be shorter. But he was 9 to 2, 5 to 1 last night. His ideal conditions, Catterick 7 furlong. You can see his form there in those conditions. Thankfully, I noticed this profile before the latest of those wins, which was good. But anyway, as you can see there, I put the positives. He has his ideal conditions in accordance with his profile, and is well handicapped, having won off a rating of 81, now down to 68. All other conditions are fine. Negatives, there are no profile negatives. If there were, just to put here as an example, if this race was taking place on heavy, and say Conroy was 0 from 7, 0 places on heavy, I would highlight it at this point. It could be that he has never raced at Catterick over 7 furlongs on heavy, and therefore such information would not be included in his ideal conditions. But you may want to consider it when considering how you want to bet. My verdict is strong, ticks every box, and is a 1-point win bet at 9 to 2. The 8 o'clock Catterick, Jan Smuts 6 to 1. Ideal conditions, it's kind of got 2 aspects to his profile. Is 16 furlongs, May 1 to 30 days, returning within 1 to 30 days, or Musselburgh 16 furlongs, class 6. The form in those conditions, 1-1-5-7-1 for the first set and 2-1-1 for the second. Clearly likes Musselburgh, as well as generally running well. Positives, he has his ideal first set of conditions. He's 0 from 28 outside of those conditions above. He has won off a rating of 64, and he's now down to 63, but also has a £5 claiming jockey on board, so it's effectively running off 58. Negatives, much like Conroy, there are no profile negatives this time. If, for example, this was the horse's first run after a break of 121 days, say, and his record was 0 from 50 places, I would highlight this here. He may never have raced in his ideal conditions after such a break before, and this may be a factor worth considering when betting. Indeed, for anyone that checked out the blog yesterday with Meetings Man, who had his ideal conditions but was 0 from 30 places when returning after a break. I know some of you that put you off and you didn't back him. He ended up tailed off. I did, kind of just in case, and in case he was fit on that occasion. Anyway, my verdict for this horse is 1-point win bet at 6 to 1. So that's an example of what you'll get in the email. So really we come on to price now and cost, as I've put there. So come on Josh, how much? Obviously I've thought long and hard about how much to charge for the 2 options. I know how much work I've put into researching these horses and how much I intend to put into the daily email service to make Flat Profiles 2015 as profitable and enjoyable as possible. As such, the cost will be as follows. Option 1 is £57. This is a one-off fee for the document containing all of the profiles. That is a total cost. There is no hidden VAT at 20%. £57 is what you pay. On purchase, you'll be taken automatically to the document online. Here you can download it, save it to your computer and print it off if you so wish. You will also be added into an email list and receive a link to the document via email. This will allow me to contact you all if required. Option 2 is £57 for the document plus £40 for the email service, so that is a total of £97. As above, this is a total cost, there's no VAT on top of that. Not only do you receive the document as above, but you will also gain access to the daily email service, which I've priced up at £40. This works out at around £5.70 a month to receive daily emails on those profile horses running in their conditions, as well as receiving any new profiles that emerge, and you'll be kept updated on results. As I've said, this service runs for the duration of the flat turf season, which officially ends on the 7th of November. I hope this is all clear and you are as excited as I am about this approach to betting on flat handicappers. You don't need me to tell you what other services charge and how this compares. Option 2 is effectively £13.80 a month all in, which I think is more than reasonable, but I will let you be the judge of that. I know I could have charged more, but I wanted to try and make this opportunity as accessible as possible for all those that would like to give it a go this season. Hopefully the two options mean as many of you can get involved as would like to. So my aim here was to excite you about this approach to betting on horses and to tell you what I have to offer. Backing flat handicappers with a clear performance pattern is enjoyable and promises to be very profitable. It is unique, different and widely ignored by the betting public. I'm not going to make wild promises about profit I cannot back up. I hope you can see from my results already this season the potential of this approach. Plus 20.5 points up already from the first bet placed on the 5th of April. Even if every horse averages just 1 point profit over the season, we would be nearly 150 points up. If the first month is anything to go by, a minimum target of say 20 points a month looks realistic. While I'm confident this approach could perform to those levels, as I said, I will not promise that they will do so. With all of the information provided, I hope you can judge for yourself. The joining page for Flat Profiles 2015 will go live at 12 PM this Thursday. I think there's something else going on this Thursday, but I can't quite remember what it is. I will send out an email with a link to the page at that time. Spaces will be limited to the first 150 subscribers. Firstly, this is to ensure there is no impact on prices, but also because I want to offer first-class customer service. So, if you would like to join, make sure you sign up from 12 PM this Thursday. For those that join the email service on Thursday, you will receive the email for any bets from Friday the 8th of May onwards. I will be in touch again on Thursday. For now, thank you very much for watching and enjoy the rest of your day. Of course, if you have any questions, please email me on the usual address, which is there. Of course, you can just reply to the email I've sent you this afternoon. And if you haven't read it already, you can see an example of the platform files in the document below this video. So for now, thank you for listening. As I said, thank you for watching. I hope you found the video interesting, and I hope that you are as excited about flat profiles as I am. And I will be in touch with you again on Thursday at 12 PM. That's all for now. Goodbye.